Yes, sir.
All right, we're live. Live. A few days before the event. Let's get going here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, April 16th, 2021. Today we're talking about some new iPhone and HomePod rumors and of course the big news of the week. Apple's event is upon us because this is the iMore show. Joining me as always is iMore contributor Karen Freeman. Hiya, Karen.
Hello.
And joining both of us today as our special guest is iMore news writer Stephen Warwick. Hey, Stephen.
Hello.
All right, got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Some good rumors, and of course, it's finally happened. I know a lot of us had doubted it or were becoming doubters, but
Never in
There-
doubt. Never lost
there's
hope.
an event next week. There's an event next week, but we'll talk about that a bit later because first, I want to talk about currently non-existent iPhones and HomePods. So let's start. Just touch back. Let's touch in with or touch base with the as yet unannounced iPhone 13 that we expect later this year. First, I think it's a very sad rumor, though understandable, that the iPhone 13 mini will be the last mini, at least according to Ming Chi Kuo.
Yeah, it was a short run, wasn't it?
I feel like they went the wrong. I feel like Apple went the wrong way with it. Apple went towards like the low price. They were going for the low price niche, like making it a low cost. But for that, it was totally unnecessary because we have the iPhone SE to fill that niche. So I feel like they should have gone ahead and gotten Pro with it. Then it would get a lot of faithful followers like me. I'm not going to stick with the small form factor. I don't think even with the 13, I'll have to see, but I miss the Pro features, the better camera. And I don't know. It was an experiment, I guess, gone wrong.
Yeah. If they'd been able to really just focus on battery life, I think that alone would have been.
The battery life it's the worst battery life of any iPhone I've ever had. And I've had almost all of them.
which is saying a lot because some of them were even 3.5 inch phones, right? Started at 3.5 inches.
Those were the days. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Do you remember which iPhone was it? Was it the iPhone 5? Was the first because obviously there's the original iPhone 3GS, like the 4 and the 4S, and then the iPhone 5 was the first one that they advertised. And I remember so clearly the commercial. It was like the thumb, and it was like your thumb goes from here to here, so it makes sense that your iPhone goes from here to here. And then like I use that. My mum has like the previous Gen SE. And like I used that the other day, and it was like
was that your American accent you were doing there?
Yeah, sorry,
really
that's hilarious.
Pronouncing those R's just really, yeah.
I used my mum's her previous Gen SE the other day, and I was like, this is awful. Like, how do you use this? And yeah, now we're like, 5.4 inches, like it's a bit small, isn't it? Like,
but it's unfortunate, because I'm kind of with Karen, except I feel like I arrived there a little bit sooner. Like I didn't want to let go of the 3 cameras, but I would have loved like a Pro Mini.
Well, this was definitely my year to experiment with it because I didn't go anywhere. So it didn't matter so much that I didn't take pictures because I didn't have anything to take pictures of. And it didn't matter as much with the battery life not lasting a whole day because I didn't go anywhere a whole day. So it's fine, but not for my next phone.
And actually, Karen, you're hitting on something that I wonder if this was a factor. Like this was a year where nobody went anywhere, like comparatively fewer people went places this year than usual. And so if people were carrying around their phone constantly, or very importantly, going into stores and handling phones before they bought them, do we think the Mini may have stood a better chance, battery life aside? Maybe people who really wanted that small phone would have accepted that as a drawback.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I know, like for me, certainly, it in recent years have like my iPhones have gotten bigger, and certainly like this last year, like basically never leaving the house. Essentially, it's been. Yeah, I think you're totally right. The same way if I was saying, like you're choosing between like a larger or a smaller laptop, the portability aspect, right, is a huge one. I think it's probably apart from like maybe hand size, if it was like, okay, you've got very small hands or you struggle to hold a larger iPhone, get the iPhone mini. Apart from that, the portability aspect is probably its biggest selling point. And yeah, you're right. There's portability is for the foreseeable, last few months has not been a high priority for most iPhone users, I don't think.
Yeah, Joe, are you saying that if people had gone to Apple stores and gotten their hands on the iPhone mini, that the 12 mini, that it might have sold better?
Yeah, if more people certainly had done.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the case, because my fear going into it was that the screen would be too small and I wouldn't be able to see it because my vision's not fantastic. So I think going into the store would not have allayed that fear. It really took time to get used to a smaller screen. I wasn't thrilled with it at first. It kind of like freaked me out a little bit because I had gotten used to the larger screen, but I have adjusted to the smaller screen. That's no problem. I never even thought about battery life when I was going into the smaller phone. It never even occurred to me that it would be an issue. But that's actually been my biggest pain point, has been the battery.
One of the things I keep thinking about is I can understand why. I can understand discontinuing this phone because most like small phones they're out. Small phones are out. Nobody else is making like small flagship phones. But at the same time, like, I don't want a world where every flagship phone is 6 inches and up.
Yeah, I agree.
Even just going back down to 5.8 on the Pro, just on the regular Pro. I mean, because the sort of mainstream iPhone, the 11, the 12, the 10R, those have been 6.1 inch screens for a while now. I don't know. Just something a little more, especially in the newer form factor that we have. I think 5.8 inches would feel not too small, but more graspable in one hand.
Well, I just feel like if Apple is worried about having too many SKUs or having too many models, cut out the middle. Like, why not have like 3 sizes of Pro and then 2 sizes of SE type phones? And then that way there's something for everybody. There's like bigger and smaller for budget phones, and then there's small, medium, and large for the Pro phones. I mean, everybody's got to be able to find something in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, what I would love to see is Apple makes, the innards for the phone, and then they could custom fit them to any size that you might want.
Or you get like mix and match parts.
You go into the Apple store, like Build-A-Bear, and you like.
I was just going to say.
Exactly. the Build-A-Bear iPhone.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
You never know.
Yeah.
They did it with the Apple Watch. I mean, the Apple Watch used to be you had to buy it with this certain case and band combination. There were just a few options. And they made it a, build your own watch combination eventually.
Yeah. A bespoke ordering system for iPhones.
Because I think starting with coronavirus, but I think, like a lot of businesses, I think Apple may kind of pivot the way they do things after finding that people can do things online. That maybe, why not have a bespoke iPhone ordering system? It can all be done online, so maybe it takes an extra, some more coding behind the scene or whatever, but it could be done.
Maybe you pay. They have a set of standard parts that cost. You get one of those phones and it costs comparatively less. But instead, what if you don't want a 5.4 screen? What if you want like a 5-inch screen? Maybe it costs you a little more to get the custom screen, but.
Well, however they want to price it. I mean, it could have like a base model, and then you can upgrade the battery, you can upgrade the speed, you can upgrade the camera, you can change the size, you can change the color. I mean, the options are endless. I love it. That's a great idea.
$1 trillion company.
Tell Apple. Apple, are you watching? Are you listening? We want this.
Yeah,
it's quite an interesting thought in being able to. Like even online, like you can now, like customize a Mac. You pick the RAM, you pick the hard drive space or whatever. Maybe. Yeah, because it's hard because Yeah, with the iPhone, everything is kind of on the one A series chip and stuff. But no,
Or,
it's certainly
I mean,
an
in
interesting
the stores, you'd have maybe probably limited options. That's fine.
concept.
But then if you want a custom order,
Yeah.
do it online.
Or skip foldables entirely. And, LG's gone the way, LG's mobile division is, gone the way of the dodo. Rollables. Apple should take up the rollable flag. You just have stretchy phones that stretch the size of the big iPad Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
They'll get
but
right on that, I'm sure.
someone in the chat just pointed out them being excited for a larger, not Pro phone, which is, I think it's exciting because the rumor, if you've not read the story, is the iPhone 13 mini will be the last mini because next year 2022, the iPhone 14 or whatever it's called, there'll be two 6.1 inch models and two 6.7 inch models. So yeah, and there will be a Pro of each, which I think is cool. So there will be like an iPhone Max
14.
that isn't the Pro.
So an iPhone 14 and an iPhone 14 Max.
Yeah,
And an iPhone 14 Pro and an iPhone 14 Pro Max.
exactly. Yeah, apparently, maybe.
When the rumors of a 5.4-inch iPhone first got started, like 2 years ago now, I remember the prevailing theory was that was going to be sort of the naming scheme of what became the iPhone 12. Is it would be iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Max, and instead it became iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Mini.
Yeah, there was like they weren't going
Switch
to
the
use
directions.
Mini as the to denote the smaller one. It was like that would be the base one, and then the other models would be bigger. It is interesting. I wonder if Apple like planned this all along. Like obviously Apple thinks is 4 or 5 years ahead in terms of like the product pipeline and stuff. And we got the iPhone SE last year, literally like a year ago. I think yesterday was John Prosser's like, sorry, Tim tweet. And then he gave us like the exact time that the phone was being announced, April 15th. And then we didn't get a new one this year. And the SE like fills like that really important kind of, Karen, what you were saying, that budget smartphone gap, and also like the smaller size. And there's a rumor that there might be another SE next year, but like we're not really sure if it'll be like an SE Plus, so like a bigger budget phone, or like an upgraded smaller budget phone. And so if there is another SE coming after the iPhone 13, then maybe that's going to fill the gap in the market next year where the iPhone 14 mini, I guess, would have been. So
it's an interesting thought. It just occurred to me that maybe what Apple has done here with the mini iPhones is they've introduced this chassis into the market and into their production line, and then a few years down the road, this becomes the chassis of the iPhone SE when it gets Face ID. Fine.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, maybe.
And so it can go from the iPhone SE, the second one, the 2020 iPhone SE, is bigger than the first iPhone SE by a pretty substantial margin.
Substantially, yeah.
Hey, that's a great idea.
And so it can go back to being both the small and truly affordable option, because this is just, I mean, the iPhone 12 mini is the same price, same starting price, except with that additional $30 price tag on certain carriers. It is the same starting price as, I believe, the iPhone 11. The 6.1 inch mainstream iPhone jumped in price by $100 this year. Yeah. So
I know that's a great, because you do wonder with Apple shifting the design language of the iPhone so much this year back to what it used to be, the square edges, the rounded corners. Would they then, and if we were to believe that this year's iPhone will be a very subtle tweak and not a design change, so we can expect roughly the same sort of form factor with very, very small changes, would Apple then release an iPhone SE after both of those devices with a design language like from the older iPhone, like the 10, the 11, that sort of thing? So that's a really good point. I really like that theory. That's
yeah, it's I mean, and again, this is just something that occurred to me. I no idea. Um,
Because if you could make it cheaper, you kind of dumb down the processor a little bit, even have a not as good a display. Because if the 13 goes kind of LTPO 120 hertz, you could keep the what is now the 12 mini at its current display level, and that would still be like a significant step down that Apple could make cheaper. Joe, you've cracked it. Well done.
I've done it.
If Apple hasn't thought of that, they should have. They are now thinking of it.
Yeah, definitely. One of the other rumors for the iPhone 13 line that I wanted to address is this camera module. This was, I think, a story this morning where the iPhone 13 Pro, supposedly leaked designs of the iPhone 13 Pro Max seem to show that Apple isn't sitting still with the camera module. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're a person that buys a new iPhone every year and you were hoping not to have to buy a case this year, you're out of luck, because this camera module looks bigger. It's like it's fully half the width of the back of the phone.
Yeah, and it's like a little bit more square. I believe this is the Everything Apple Pro renders that you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
yeah.
It's just enough bigger that you have to buy a new case.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where Apple we finally cracked where Apple makes its real money, is the cases.
Yeah. Like movie theaters make their money on popcorn.
The iPhone's a loss leader for silicon.
That's I think we can safely say that Apple would love it if the iPhone were a loss leader.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, oh man, it's really growing. My question here is, at what point do we just stop increasing the size of the individual cameras and just get rid of the multiple cameras entirely and go with one big lens with a actual periscoping lens setup,
like a huge telescope on the back of the?
Because I think I think in terms of surface area, we are now in ASPC territory. So we're a step down from full frame, and we have enough room for an ASPC sensor.
Yeah, it is getting not a little bit silly, but like one of the rumors about the iPhone 13, I think from this same story actually, is the lenses of like the 13 Pro Max are getting much bigger. So not only will the housing, so the square bit that pokes out the back of the phone, that will be slightly different, but then the lenses within that, so there'll be 3 lenses in the Pro Max, will all be noticeably bigger. Yeah, it's definitely.
I'm all for bigger lenses if it means better.
It means better photos, absolutely.
Better photos, yeah.
I wonder. I'm not sure about is it with the iPhone 12? I'm gonna look at mine right now to make sure I don't like embarrass. Yeah, the phone color persists between the lenses. Would you prefer like a lens or like the module to be like all black so that the cameras weren't?
No,
I know
I don't like
like
that look.
a distinctive design, but I've also seen, I think, some Android flagships where it's the color in the module itself is more black. Uniform. Yeah.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that.
I guess because I have a case on it, it's kind of like the only bit of the back of my phone that I see, and it just.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter that much because, like you said, there's always a case on it. But I like the whole module being the same color as the phone.
Yeah, and I think that they do it with this one. They did it, and I think they did it with the 11 series. The modules on the Pro have a glossy finish, alongside the matte back, and then the standard models have a matte module with a glossy back.
I think that's kind of fun.
That is fun. It's a nice little twist.
Yeah. So's buying a new phone case for your phone every year though. So
that's
if the most recent report to be believed, your iPhone 12 case will not fit.
So Karen,
the iPhone 13.
My question for you, Karen, is like how big is too big on these camera modules? Like when does it get ridiculous?
I don't think there is any too big. I mean, we have the whole back of the phone here. You might as well use all of it.
I feel like we don't want to get to the level where we're constantly smushing up our screens and smushing up our camera lenses by holding them like this. But
yeah, I mean, we don't want it to get in the way of our fingers because then we'll get our gross fingerprints all over it. But
I can't remember what
It
it's
could keep
called.
going bigger.
I can't remember what it's called, but years ago, some company made like an iPhone, and at the time, an iPhone-sized camera with several different lenses on it, and actually kind of looked like they were embedded in the back of it because they kind of were. That's what we want Apple to go for. Massive lenses, very tiny ones. I want a
Huge
300.
array.
Get me a 600 millimeter equivalent lens on the back of this iPhone,
Mhm.
so I can
Like a
photograph from
360 GoPro on the top that like, you can do. Like
that will be that's Apple's version of the pop-up module. You know,
Yeah.
some Android phones have those pop-up modules for their selfie cams. This is what Apple would do. The same. They would have a pop-up module, but it would be the action adventure camera.
I had an amazing ZTE flip phone back in the day. I don't know if you remember it. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a clamshell flip, and the camera was on like an axis in between the two shells. So it had like a selfie camera because you could literally like with your thumb like roll, and the camera would like spin, and it would switch from like front facing to rear facing. Like with the, I don't know how they made that happen and why that like design died out, but it was amazing, and that was like 10 years ago or something. It was.
I think the problem introducing things like that, and I would worry about this if I had one of those phones that had a pop-up camera module, is, you know, the more moving parts, the more complexity, the harder it is to repair.
Yeah, and more things to go wrong. Yeah,
The easier it is to break if things are sticking out.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things could go very wrong. I want to move on a little bit to a different, let's say, family of devices, the HomePod, because we got a couple of interesting rumors on the HomePod this week. Well, HomePod and Apple TV, let's say, because they're sort of combined in my mind. So first we have this rumor that Apple, and this is coming from Bloomberg, I believe, that Apple is working on a HomePod that has an attached via robotic arm an iPad-like screen.
Do you know the only thing I picture when I think of this is the lamp from Pixar? Is that just me?
So what I picture is actually a related product. It is the Daisy iMac from, I want to say 2003,
Yeah, so like
2004.
the dome and then the arm and then the
Yeah, and if you
Pixar
remember
lamp.
if you remember one of the more prominent commercials for that particular iMac, it was the guy looking in the Apple Store window at the Daisy iMac sitting in the window, and he would move his face, and the Daisy iMac would follow him around. From the sound of it, that's what this is supposed to do.
Yeah, it does. It has sort of an AI feel to it, like it's alive, like it's following you.
Yeah. So
it's kind of weird. I don't know that I want that. That kind of creeps me out a little bit. But
Stephen, why don't you dive into this a little more and talk about this report?
So to quote again, yeah, like you said, directly from Bloomberg, is Mark Gurman, I believe. Yeah, Apple is mulling the launch of a high-end speaker with a touch screen to better compete with, like Google, Amazon, that sort of thing. Such a device would combine an iPad with a HomePod speaker and also include a camera for video chat, so FaceTime, I guess. And Apple has explored connecting the iPad to the speaker with a robotic arm, like Karen said, that can move to follow a user around the room, similar to the Amazon Echo Show. Now, this is in like really early stages, it sounds like, the kind of early stages that Apple could just be like, do you know what? Like, we're not doing that, and just get rid of it. But Apple has, of course, cancelled the original HomePod, so it only has the HomePod Mini now. There was reports that Apple was working on like a HomePod Medium, I guess. HomePod Venti, maybe, like a something between the Mini and the large one. But it doesn't have a large one anymore. So yeah, it almost like kind of both of you said. It's like, my question is like, is it detachable? Because it says it would combine an iPad with a HomePod speaker. Now, I don't know if like Mark is being literal about what Apple is doing, or if that's just the easiest way to explain it. Because I sort of like, is this like an iPad you could detach from this robotic arm, and then you have an iPad and you have a separate HomePod? Or is it looks like an iPad bolted onto a HomePod via an arm, but you can't like kind of separate the two. So it is very exciting. And yeah, it's got this.
That.
Yeah. You prefer them together,
I would.
not modular.
Like my big question about this. Okay, so I think it was around iOS 14 and tvOS 14 that gets relevant, where the HomePod's operating system switched up. So it used to be based on the latest version of iOS, and now it's based on the latest version of tvOS. So my question for this product is, would that remain? I would assume it would. I assume this would be some part of the HomePod family, and if it's part of the HomePod family, probably run the audio offshoot of tvOS, except it has this screen, so not just maybe it's full tvOS. My question is this now touchscreen tvOS?
See, I my instinct was iPad OS, like,
because then it's just an iPad attached to a speaker. Which, don't get
but
me wrong,
that's what
I
it
know
says it is.
at least one person. I know at least one person who would buy that product.
Yeah, but also you could just make that yourself. Like, just
Yeah.
get your iPad, a glue gun, and just stick it to your HomePod. That's
And the reason I asked that is the question about the operating system, because we have this other rumor. Well, first of all, we have this report out of the 14.5 betas cycle a week or two ago that FaceTime code was found in that beta of tvOS.
yeah.
Which, why?
That makes a lot of. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, obviously, because the Apple TV currently does not have a camera.
Doesn't have a camera.
But-
Doesn't really attach to anything that has
Yeah.
cameras.
Doesn't have a microphone. It doesn't have built-in audio out. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why I said it.
But here's the thing. This is where it starts to make sense. What I think is a more likely product, because I think it's out of the same Bloomberg report. We have another separate product rumor, and it is about an Apple TV that essentially combines a HomePod with a FaceTime camera and Apple TV innards.
For making video calls, using a connected TV. So going right to the company's working on a product that would combine, like you said, an Apple TV set-top box with a HomePod speaker and include a camera for video conferencing through a connected TV and other smart home functions. And again, this is in very early stages products that Apple could just be like, no, we're not doing that.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and say it.
I was just going to say, I really liked Joe at iMore. He did the other Joe a take on this where he's like, is the next Apple TV like a sound bar? Which I thought was really interesting, because then you've got, like an Apple TV that also does the sound for whatever it is you're watching. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, it sounds cool.
Does all this not point to Apple actually making a TV set, like an actual TV set?
I don't think it does. No.
I think the time for that the time that they were exploring that may have passed. I am sure that they investigated that, because they investigate everything. But I feel like the time for an Apple TV set.
Market's a bit saturated now, isn't it?
I mean, what market isn't saturated? But yeah, like, we also thought it was weird that they'd make a car, and it really sounds like they're making.
Here
a
we
car.
are. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just picturing like the Jetsons, because everything that was on the Jetsons, that's what was promised to me when I was a child, that kind of technology was going to be around when I was an adult. That's how we took it. And one of the things I was promised on the Jetsons was like a huge TV on the wall where you have your FaceTime calls and like you talk to people on this huge TV.
So what I am in full agreement with Joe W. That this is our other Joe. We have letter designations for all the different Joes.
I thought you just gone to like referring to yourself in the third person, which is like,
God, I'm great.
I can imagine that's just really gone to your head. I had a lecturer who did that once. They like cited themselves as like precedent, and like,
man,
it's the strangest thing ever.
But yeah, I heard this, and there's no way that this product makes any sense to me other than a sound bar. Because I mean, think about the Apple TV and the current Apple TV and where it can be placed in your living room. It could be behind a door. It could be behind a lot of things. Your shelf, whatever home theater unit you might have might not be set up to really display it prominently. So how does a camera make sense? Unless is a soundbar, because a soundbar is best when it's centrally located right under your TV and pointed basically straight at you.
And previously, the soundbar quotes option was like to have a HomePod, right? Or you could have a couple, connect them to your TV,
Yep.
put them in stereo. But they don't. Apple doesn't sell the big HomePod anymore, so there is a gap there in the market for an Apple-made kind of entertainment system that does, like a Dolby Atmos, sort of like a
Exactly.
surround sound kind of thing. So yeah, no, I like it.
A soundbar makes sense. I mean, it has to be something that's very different from the HomePod factor, or they wouldn't have just eliminated the HomePod. They would have said, this is the new HomePod. So it can't just be similar.
Yeah.
And this, you don't even have to, for instance, hook up to an Apple TV, because it is an Apple TV as well.
Yeah, but it's not, I think importantly, it's to distinguish, because it's like, this is not the thing we just talked about. To distinguish from the other product is it doesn't have a display. So this is still, like you said, Joe, an Apple TV set-top box that you would connect to a TV, and that's how you get the display. But it would have it wouldn't have a display, but it would have the camera, which again backs up what you're saying about, well, where'd you put the TV? If it was a sound bar, well, you'd put it kind of front and center for good sound and also for a good camera angle. So,
yep.
I'm not sure about the camera angle. I was on a Zoom call the other day with somebody who was on a laptop, and their camera was at the bottom of the screen, and you'd be surprised how terrible that is.
But I think the angle is
has to
wide
be
enough. I think the angle is, or the distance between the sound bar and wherever you're sitting or standing, if you stand for video calls, like somebody I know. I stand for everything these days. If I think the distance is wide enough that that's less of a factor.
Yeah, I guess it would have to if it was oriented just right, I guess it would be fine. It's bad on a laptop. That's all I can tell you.
Apple will release this groundbreaking Apple set-top box with soundbar that can do FaceTime calls, and it'll have the 720p webcam from the old MacBook Pro.
There it is.
Which
finally
pixel is Auntie Jean? Like, I can't see her.
They finally moved to like 1080p webcams in MacBooks and MacBook Pro. Every MacBook. So MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, old, new. Maybe they still have an Intel model, but they put a 1080p camera in that. 1080p cameras everywhere. The new HomePod with FaceTime camera, 720p.
No, they wouldn't do that.
No.
It would have to be good quality, because most people would put them in big TVs, which the bigger your TV, the more it exposes the quality of whatever it is you're looking at. If it's not, especially if it's not good quality.
Well, think about this. So I would imagine that an Apple soundbar, so like forget Apple TV, the Apple TV aspect for a moment, but an Apple soundbar, I would imagine, would be Dolby Atmos capable. And those soundbars can cost.
Yeah.
But they've got like
probably Siri too as well, right? Apple Music.
Well, like Sonos's Arc Dolby Atmos soundbar is, I think, $800, and it doesn't have an Apple TV in it.
I'm assuming Apple soundbar would be north of $1,000.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Think about it. You got the soundbar itself. You got you got Apple TV hardware, which is already priced high. I'm not going to say overpriced, but overpriced.
And it's basically the equivalent of 2 HomePods. I mean, if it's wide enough, you're going to get that stereo effect.
Yeah.
So.
Plus proper Atmos support. Like the current big HomePod, they updated it with sort of Atmos and surround sound support, but I mean, it's weird. It's not fully compatible, but it works. This plus there's a camera, and what if they include like a 4K FaceTime camera in this?
They'd have to, because people are going to be hooking it up to giant TV sets.
To 4K TVs, ideally, from Apple's perspective, anyway.
Yeah.
But I think, Karen, $999 minimum.
Right. Absolute minimum.
Yeah. And by that, it means $999, not $9.99.
Yeah. $999.99.
Yeah. Exactly. Under $1,000. There it is. It's under 1,000. So moving on from rumors to something that blends true news and rumors, there is an Apple event next week.
Okay, so I was wrong in my assumption that there wasn't going to be one. I'll fess up to that. I did not bet my eyebrows on it. It was just a guess. But I have to tell you, the fact that they are having an event after already having announced the June event makes my expectations really high. So they can't have this event, which is supposed to be like if you log it onto your calendar through Apple's invitation, it's supposed to be 2 hours. They can't have this big event just to announce slight updates and everything.
Yeah. So
It's got to be something big, right?
That's just the thing. I don't know that we can count on the invitation time for this because I think it was also 2 hours for the Mac event last fall, and the Mac event was under an hour.
Yeah. So even forgetting about that, just the fact that they're having this event.
Yeah, it
just makes my expectations high.
So,
and it's fully loaded. What is it? Spring loaded. Loaded. The word loaded in there. And I love to read the tea leaves on the invitations.
Shoot off into the stratosphere, something like that.
Yeah, loaded, but just like it's loaded with new products. So we're gonna get all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to be loaded to buy them because they're really expensive. That's what.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that goes without saying.
Yeah. Hey,
but not the AirTags.
AirTags might be quite cheap. Yeah.
The AirTags should be something everybody can buy.
This is what I really want to know from the both of you. Do you think now is the time? Do you think we will actually see AirTags?
If
this has been the Lucy with the football for months now.
I'm going to say
April 2019, if you were wondering, like a full 2 years since we first found out Apple was making some sort of tracking device.
Well, we're going to be waiting longer than 2 years for some other things like the Apple Car. It's going to be way more, but
yeah, that's true.
But we have been waiting a while for a little tiny disc, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say yes. Like I would say 80%. I'm 80% sure we're getting AirTags.
Yeah, Stephen, do you?
I'll go like 81, and then if they do come, I was more right than Karen. Joe, you take 79, and if they don't come, Karen's really sold herself short by going so specific. She's left that whole big. Yeah, you take 79, I'll take 81.
I don't know. I don't have it in my heart to place a bet on this. You know,
I'd be really surprised. In the only Mark Gurman's very good at being non-committal about like a lot of the things he says, and the only thing he's definitely said is coming is a new iPad Pro. If you read his reports, it's like Apple also I'm paraphrasing here, but plans to release AirTags tracking devices or is working on AirTags tracking devices. There's nothing definitive about that, whereas he said, definitely iPad Pro. But it is because we had that slew of Apple events at the end of last year, and they all had that really specific 2 product format or 3 products. And one was very minor, or 2 products and a service announcement or something like that. So, but yeah, there's so much kind of on the plate and so many things that we've been hearing about for a long time. AirPods, Apple TV, Mac, iMac, iPad Pro, iPad Mini. I don't know.
iPad Mini.
The joke's on us because we have to write about it. Also, I hope there's one thing. I hope there's nothing. I hope it's a iOS 14.5. Here you go. That's all we have to tell.
Tim Cook showing us his winter vacation slides.
Yeah, no, I think we'll get all the things you said, and I think the extremely colorful invitation is because the colors of the new iMacs.
Well,
that we've seen rumored, maybe.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say I think that iMacs will show up, but one thing that has popped up in the past couple of days, unsurprisingly, because new season, new cases for the iPhones.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the other thing that colors could be, because the colors of the cases do seem pretty similar to the colors in it, but that's a really boring.
Cases and watch bands.
Yeah, right. Okay, I mean those are nice, but if there weren't already so many third-party Apple Watch bands and iPhone cases that are pretty nice, or
Yeah.
in some cases really nice. Yeah, I don't know. Are you guys excited about new Apple Watch bands and cases?
Not really.
Unless there's a really spicy. So I only have the Nike Apple Watch because that was the only watch face I was interested in, and I only like the Nike Sport bands. So unless there's a new like spicy Nike band, I got the most recent one, whatever it's called. It's like the dark, like the orangey one. I'm not wearing it. I can't show you. That's all I'm interested in. Anything else? No. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not that big. I mean, I love this this solo loop. Is it solo loop? I can't remember what they even call this one. The braided woven nylon one that they just came out with last fall. I love it. But that if they came out with an interesting color of that, that'd be great. But no, I'm not.
It's
Really...
like $100 though, that band.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know.
And I waited for a while for it too, because
Yeah.
the Product Red one took forever. But
Yeah,
if
there might be a
came out
red.
with-
I think red is on the because there's a red. We've seen images of a red iPhone case, and I've seen a few people be like, "Oh, I bet that the cases and the bands match." So if you
Yeah.
like the red case, hopefully there'll be a red band to go with it.
That's a good assumption, I think.
Yeah, 7 total new cases. It looks like.
Yeah.
And the colors are nice, but I don't know. They're like none of them are like, oh my gosh, like groundbreaking. I mean, it's just cases.
This could very well be the debut of an M1 iMac. I mean, isn't the rumor that they'd release them in 2 different parts of the year?
There was rumored. Yeah, I've seen again from Mark Gurman rumors that there would be new Apple Silicon Macs in the first half and the second half of the year, and the second half mostly seems to point to the new mini LED MacBooks, which might even come in the new. There's like a 14-inch size and maybe a new 16-inch one as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also expecting new iMacs, so there is definitely, I think, a good chance. Maybe WWDC for a new iMac. There was no hardware last year.
I would certainly prefer that.
It makes more sense, doesn't it? It's a more Mac kind of a event,
and
really.
It's where they've released or at least announced new Macs before. Like the first Retina MacBook Pro was announced at WWDC. The the trash can Mac Pro, the more recent Mac Pro, both announced at WWDC. One of the things that I'm reminded of is that a lot of developers use iMacs. A lot of developers use iMacs, and I think, say, an enhanced M1, like an M1X or that similar chip, I think that would appeal to a lot of developers. So they might save it for a WWDC, especially if that's when they'll have both sizes ready.
Yeah,
because it's rumored to be 24 and 32. Yeah,
a 32-inch iMac. That's gonna. The screen I'm looking at now is decent, and it's like 21.5 inches. I'm looking at just now. 32 inches of iMac. That's obscene. Really is. That will be expensive. You thought the Apple soundbar was going to be expensive. Wait till you see the 32-inch iMac in redesign and 5 colors.
Yeah, PhonePup in the chat is asking us what we think about the idea of bringing the iPhone Pro colors to the iPad Pro. Do we think Apple would do that? I have my doubts.
Do you know? It's a good idea though. I've always thought that I like what they did. The colors aren't for me, but I like the concept of the iPad, the last iPad Air, with like the 5 new colors, and they're quite kind of vibrant. We're apparently hearing they might do that with the iMac as well. So, yeah, I do. I don't think. I think with the iPhone, you've got like the regular iPhone, which has the kind of the more vibrant colors, and then you've got the Pro, which has the more like business colors, but like what I mean, they're kind of more subtle. You got like Pacific blue instead of like the bright blue from the regular 12. I think it makes perfect sense to put the Pro iPhone colors with the Pro iPads.
Yeah.
And do you know what? People really love it. The Apple kind of colors are all out of whack at the minute, aren't they? Because you have the iPhone 12 colors don't match the iPad colors, which don't match like the previous ones and stuff. Because there was a time where you could buy like a rose gold everything basically. You could even there was some Macs that you had, like the 12-inch Mac was gold, so you could have like your gold Mac, your gold iPhone, your gold iPad and stuff.
Yeah,
I
the colors
think
are all
really,
over.
yeah, and people really want that matching. Yeah, the uniformity. If I've got a Pacific Blue iPhone, I would buy a Pacific Blue iPad on launch day. Absolutely. Don't tell my wife, but
I mean, I love the option of having more colors, but you're right. The colors are just all over the place, and they're not. It's like they're not even trying to match them.
I think the only products that really match colors right now are the iPad Air and the AirPods Max. I think the metal on the AirPods Max,
such a bizarre combination.
matches the Airs.
But they are the two newest, so maybe everything is going over to those colors.
Yeah. Phone Pop, I hear you though. Pacific Blue iPad.
That would be pretty sweet.
Like that color on metal instead of glass would be very interesting to see. Actually, same with the iPhone 12 blue. I love that blue so much more, but I would like to see that on. I mean, we do have it on an aluminum band on the iPhone 12, but yeah, I'd like to see that on an iPad too.
Yeah, it's not a sophisticated color though. No. You know, the pros tend to always have the more sophisticated colors. Like the Pacific Blue is more sophisticated than the whatever the blue is called of the iPhone 12. The brighter blue.
Why does being a professional mean I don't want to have fun? You know? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Where pros want fun too.
Yes.
Yeah. The product red iPad Pro. There we go. Just bright, vibrant, stands out in a crowd. Hopefully,
too much red for me. That I think the product red works with the iPhone and stuff.
A small pop of red.
Yeah.
One of the questions I have about the iPad, because there was a rumor to this effect at least like a month ago. Do you think we'll see a new Magic Keyboard, like a new Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro? Well, I guess now also iPad Air.
When did the last iPad?
A year ago.
It was 2020.
Yeah.
2020. Yeah.
It's too soon. It's too soon, I think. Well, what do you think the pain point of it is that needs improvement?
I think for a lot of people, the trackpad size, especially on the smaller one, it's the trackpad size. But I know a lot of other people have trouble with the fact there's no function row.
Okay.
Which function rows have been really Apple has never made an iPad focused keyboard with a function row. I mean, obviously you've been able to attach your wireless Magic Keyboard to it for a while, and other keyboards have had function rows, like especially those from Logitech, but Apple's never done it.
There are rumors of an Apple Pencil, so that would complete
Apple Pencil 3.
The holy trinity.
Yeah. So far, all the pictures I've seen of the supposed Apple Pencil 3 have been terrible.
What is it gonna do? That would be my question.
Yeah, they're not helpful pictures at all. They don't show anything.
Like, is this an iPad or is this an Apple Pencil that comes with the magnetic inductive charging support for the iPad Air and iPad Pro, and then it also has the cap on the end with the Lightning connector that goes into the older iPads? Like, is it one Apple Pencil to rule them all?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, backwards compatibility is that's something I keep harping on.
Well,
they spend a lot of money on this stuff. You want it to work with all your things.
Apple released a second-gen Apple Pencil, and that doesn't work with a bunch of iPads, right?
It's not backwards compatible at all. So.
Yeah, but now this is what the Apple Pencil 3 is focused on. That and that alone, it doesn't have new capabilities on the the touch surface.
I think the only thing I've kind of heard or read about would be like improved sensors. So the Apple Pencil's great. Like you can rest your hand on the iPad and you can write, and you're not gonna your hands are going to activate exactly the touch screen and stuff. so maybe kind of improved sensors or
It's already
pressure,
so good.
haptic kind of.
All of that is already so good.
Yeah.
I think that I do think the lack of backwards compatibility is the biggest pain point for a lot of people. I think a lot of families have iPads for everybody, right? And they're all different iPads. Like the parents will pass on their old ones to their kids rather than buying them brand new. So there are, I think, a lot of families that have iPads of very different generations in the home. It would be nice if the pencil worked with all of them.
Yes. Yeah. What if I'm right? Guys, what if I'm right and they release an Apple Pencil 3 and that's what it does? It does the magnetic charging and it does the cap if you want to.
And it has it has a lightning port underneath, so you can charge it like the Magic Mouse, like just to when you've woken up and chosen violence. It's just
you have to. There's a new feature. You have to unscrew the pencil, the actual pencil tip, and plug it in that way. There's a lightning port there, it's
impossible to use whilst charging,
right, like the Magic Mouse. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, who really knows? But
Magic Keyboard is an interesting one. I hadn't thought of that. It's the pencil makes a lot of sense because the pencil, the last one came out with the new iPad Pro 2018.
The not the previous iPad Pro, but the iPad Pro before that, the 2018 model. There was a 2020 model, which actually makes the idea of them launching an iPad Pro right now so strange. Like if they were sticking to their previous timeline for iPad Pro, they wouldn't release a new one until this fall.
Yeah, it was a funny old year last year, though, wasn't it? So
it was. There were also
funny old year. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
There was a rumor, if you'll remember, there was a rumor last year that they would after the iPad Pro they released in March, that they would release another one in the fall with an A14X and 5G. Basically, what we're supposed to be getting on Tuesday.
Yeah, the mini LED iPad the iPad Pro rumors have been going for ages, and that was supposed to be kind of months old by now. So yeah, it's an interesting one about the keyboard. We've heard precisely nothing, so that would be a real surprise, which would be.
Yeah, I have no idea. What I think I saw. I think John Prosser mentioned it on Twitter weeks and weeks back that he thought AirTag's iPad Pro and Apple Magic Keyboard. Admittedly, he didn't say Apple Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro, so maybe it's just the Mac, the desktop connected Magic Keyboard.
Yeah. It's always bothered me that they have the same name.
Oh my God. Just iPad keyboard, smart keyboard for iPad. I mean, that's already a product. It's just not Magic. It doesn't all have to be Magic. Of course, now we have the MacBook Air and MacBook Pros now all have the scissor switches again as of last year, and I think they refer to those as Magic keyboards as well. And it's just I'm very tired. It's
so much magic.
Spring loaded keyboard, maybe
a spring loaded keyboard. Okay, there we go.
Your fingers just bounce across the keys.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you press down enter and it shoots right off the keyboard after.
Would Apple make a mechanical keyboard one day?
They used to. They did.
Oh.
You weren't alive when they.
Yeah,
did.
I was going to say in high school. When I was in high school, we had an Apple computer with a mechanical keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but were they like? Is it like they were mechanical back then, or was it like that was the only way to make keyboards? Whereas it's like a premium.
Well, you had to have room for the little gremlins to actually push the keys down. So that's little creatures in there.
Yeah, and Stephen, this is going to blow your mind. This computer did not connect to anything because the internet was not invented yet.
What a time to be alive.
What is even the point, Stephen thinks?
No.
Yeah.
Apple mechanical keyboard. I would buy that as well.
Yeah. I think it's is it Matthias? I think that's the name of the keyboard, the Matthias like Touch or something like that. But it's in the style. It's a mechanical keyboard. It's been around for a while. That's in the style of the old Apple Extended keyboard, is what it was called, including the font on the keys, which is wild to me. That old font, I remember that from my family's first family computers. It had that. Yeah.
But yeah, Apple event, big. I'm with Karen. I thought it would never come. It's maybe, but I was starting to give up hope because when I heard April, I was like, April 6th, April 13th. So
we've heard a bit. We talked a bit about it last week. The possibility of an Apple TV, like an Apple. I mean, we've been talking about this Apple TV that is also a sound bar, but I don't think that's ready yet. So do we think we might see a refresh of the actual Apple TV box?
That's another weird one. It's like one like John Prosser has been tweeting about for literally months, like that Apple has had an Apple TV ready to go for like so long and has just chosen not, if it was true, they've just chosen not to release it for like I want to say maybe like an A13, like an A12X processor, something like that. So like an upgrade, but just another, nothing innovative, just another Apple TV, but a slightly beefed up one compared to the current gen. So it's hard to think, like, without doing something really radical, like how much better can the Apple TV get right now? I get you could put a better processor in it, make it maybe a bit faster, better multitasking and gaming and stuff, but
it'll last longer.
Yeah, future proofing and that sort of thing. But
it's the kind of thing that I don't feel like you need an event for.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can see them releasing it.
Yeah, that's a press release on a Wednesday afternoon,
but
isn't it?
like they can't make an event of just iterative upgrades of existing devices. Like there needs to be something really innovative and interesting if they're going to have us watch this infomercial.
So Karen, I guess you're thinking this is AirTags and iMac? Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think because those are the only two things that sound really different. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the cases we're going to at least see new cases. So the colors are for the cases. Woo.
It is an interesting tip. I've heard Renee talk about this, how the people who make the Apple event don't know what's coming at the Apple event. It'd be like, hey, make this event. It needs to say this. It needs to have these 5 colors and look fancy. That's it. No one in that particular portion of Apple is going, okay, there's going to be a spring-loaded mechanical keyboard, so we're going to have to call the event spring-loaded. It's
interesting. So the logo designers are not in on the content.
They get a remit, but
well, remember when we all thought that the iPhone 12 event invitation was for AirTags because of all the circles.
The circles. Yeah.
We should have gone on the show that Friday just dressed as clowns.
Yeah. Which canceled the show.
So live, just live apply clown makeup to ourselves live.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of analysts. There are plenty of analysts out there that are saying that there's not going to be anything really big at this event, that it's all just going to be evolutionary, not revolutionary.
I don't know, when Mark Gurman said earlier this week, he was like, nothing particularly innovative. Well, I took that to mean nothing particularly innovative within the industry, because you've got to remember, like, Mark Gurman's writing for Bloomberg, mostly to like people who are probably thinking about investing in Apple stock, and they're concerned about financials, and it's a lot of the times it's the people who read his work on iMore 9 to 5 Mac rumors who are really interested in what will the new products look like. And so when he said not particularly innovative, I took that to mean within the industry, not in terms of kind of Apple. So I think there are things that might come out of the event. For example, the new iMac, which is by all accounts going to have these big new sizes, total redesign. It's going to look like the Pro Display XDR, all the different colors. Like, that'll be a huge jump for Apple. But yeah, in terms of the wider industry, it's not really that noteworthy. It's noteworthy because it's Apple, not because it's the next big thing in the M1 or the M1X, whichever comes might be.
Right.
But I think it could still be a big deal.
I think this might be a more subdued event to start the year off with. I think
Way to cut me down,
I think the idea that iMacs will be at WWDC makes sense to me, more so than the spring. I think iPad Pro and AirTags are probably safe bets at this point. And I think this event could be 45 minutes to an hour. This could be Like
Fine
maybe
by
there's
me. Fine by
I
me.
wouldn't be surprised if there's more to AirTags than we necessarily know. That could very well be. But maybe this
What
is
could
maybe just my
AirTags
hope.
do?
Maybe they're like
What?
the little balls from Black Panther, and you can use them to like stop at wounds and stuff, and like
Yeah,
control
it's a
your
quantum
car.
leap in traffic.
Yeah.
But what's going to be different about AirTags that's
See,
going to set
that's
them
the thing.
above?
I couldn't tell you.
Ultra wide bands.
Yeah.
Find My integration, maybe. It's do you know what? It's like, do you remember the iPhone 12 event? And it was like 5G, which we kind of all knew was coming.
Mhm.
But the event was called High Speed, and you've seen that montage clip of just Tim Cook and the guy from, I think it's
just said 5G so much.
5G over and over and over and over again, because that's
Yeah.
the only thing they talked about. And it's, one of those things that Apple could quite happily take something that is relatively what's the word, unimpressive, like unremarkable, and just like run with it and make it, because that's for them is the. So yeah, AirTags, like Joe said, it could end up taking like half an hour, because it's this thing that Apple never done before, even though it's a product with Tile and what's the other company? Chipotle. Yeah.
Chipotle.
Chipotle. Yeah.
The Chipotle tracker. The one thing that occurs to me is that we've got this rumor from Mark Gurman that there's, and I've been very excited about this over the past few weeks, that Thunderbolt is coming to the iPad Pro. And like, my question is why? Like, if that's true, why? And as we saw last year with the Magic Keyboard for iPad, there was a whole hidden level of software in iPad OS, whatever that release was, 13 point, I want to say 4.
Yeah, for mouse and keyboard.
For full mouse and keyboard support. I mean, they had sort of rudimentary mouse and keyboard support since iOS and iPad OS 13, but this was full on laptop style, for the most part, mouse and keyboard support, just an equal partner with your finger in using the iPad. And I wonder if the big thing here, and it would be a big deal for developers too, is actual external monitor support.
Yeah.
Because you could drive a monitor and other devices if you have a Thunderbolt port. And so right now, if you connected an iPad to an external monitor, even an iPad Pro, it's boxed off. It's stuck at 4:3, the same aspect ratio as the iPad.
Right.
So I wonder if that is maybe.
And it would certainly be like a more pro feature, if you were using it for photo editing, chopping up a movie.
That's it. Maybe there are
production.
more pro features, or maybe there's a software partnership with Adobe on Photoshop and Illustrator that those have already come out, but maybe there are big enhancements with this iPad. Maybe it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, like a computer's amount of RAM.
Yeah, I mean, bringing the iPad Pro experience a lot closer to the laptop experience would be a pretty big innovation, because I don't think we're really there yet.
The ease of use of Apple's tablet software with the power of, say, like the actual power of a MacBook Pro, even if it's the M1 MacBook Pro,
right?
Still,
that would be pretty big.
I guess what we're trying to say is, don't be surprised if there are 100 products next week. But also don't be surprised if Apple spends an hour and a half talking about 2 products, one of which you don't care about.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I will be glued to the iPad Pro section.
Yeah.
All right. That is, we've gone past our hour. This is a big, fun show today.
Big show.
There was a lot of stuff this week.
A lot to talk about today. So yeah, we've come down to the end of it. I want to say thanks, Stephen, for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to the live listeners and commenters. It's always interesting to see what you folks will say right next to us.
Yeah. Dalva, don't worry about being late to the show. I almost missed it too. It's fine. It happens.
It's fine. Thanks to everybody who's going to listen later on their podcatcher of choice. We, of course, do this all for you folks. That's what makes it fun. Thank you to the wonderful Jim Metzendorf, who always makes it sound lovely. And that's been the iMore show this week. By the time we talk to you next, we'll have had an Apple event that is probably at least partly an iPad event. Yeah, there we go. But we will have that event, and we'll be able to actually talk about things that were definitely announced. So,
or about the massive disappointment that the Apple
or the
event
massive
was.
disappointment that it was indeed Tim Cook's winter vacation slideshow.
Find out next
Either
week.
way,
In any case, find
we'll
out
have
next
lots to
week.
talk about.
Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye bye.